Alright Pistons fans, so in today's video, we are back to doing some draft videos, and we're going to be talking about Sharife Cooper, the guard out of Auburn. So let's talk about him, man. So Sharife Cooper, I knew about him actually from a few years ago. He's another guy who's a big high school star, similar to Jalen Green, similar to Josh Christopher. You know, he was someone in high school who was really hyped up and was a big star, so I knew about him from high school. He had celebrities coming to his basketball games on occasion. Just overall, he was a pretty hyped, popular high school player. So that's how I know about him. Now let's talk about what he did at Auburn this previous season. I'm going to give you guys the stats first, and then I'm going to give you the positives, and then I'm going to give you the negatives, and then I'm going to give you guys my conclusion. And what do I think about the Pistons possibly selecting someone like Sharife Cooper, who is projected somewhere late first round, possibly early second round. So first and foremost, he's 20 years old, he's 6'1", and anywhere between 160 to 170 pounds. The stats this previous season that he had at Auburn, he averaged 20 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, and shot 22% from the three-point line. So let's talk about the positives about him as a player. So the first thing that I'm going to mention is his handle. He's a pretty shifty player. If you watch the full games, he's someone who's a pretty good primary ball handler. You don't have to worry about him dribbling the ball, losing it, not being able to get past defenders. His handle is pretty good. The next thing that I'm going to mention about Sharife Cooper is athleticism. Not like the other guys in the draft. He's not a freak athlete who can jump out the gym, but he's someone with really quick speed. He is someone who's very fast. Similar to a guy that we had a few years ago when we drafted Jordan Bone. In terms of speed, he's right up there with someone like Jordan Bone. He's a very fast player. Again, with him only being 6'1" and around 160 to 170 pounds, he doesn't have a lot of weight to him, so he can move pretty fast and pretty quickly. So his speed is something that I feel like is a really big positive to his game. The next thing that I'm going to say is straight up aggression. He is not someone who's going to be scared to score the basketball. If you give him the ball, he's going to drive to the hole. He's going to try to put the ball in the hole. He's going to try to shoot threes. He's going to try to shoot mid-range shots. Just overall, in terms of aggression, in terms of offensive aggression, he is someone who is not afraid to try to score the basketball. So aggression is a pretty good positive to him. And the last positive thing that I'm going to mention is overall scoring ability. I really think that he's a pretty solid scorer. Now, he can work on some things that I'm going to mention in the negative portion of the video, but I feel like overall, in terms of scoring the ball, he's pretty solid there. Now, let's get to the negatives of someone like Sharife Cooper. The first thing that I'm going to mention is overall shooting ability. And more specifically, from the three-point line, as I mentioned, 22% from the three-point line is absolutely terrible, and that's just in college. And in the NBA, the three-point line is pushed farther back. So he's probably going to end up being a worse three-point shooter in the NBA than he was in college. Again, going up against tougher defenders who's going to put a hand in his face. His three-point percentage is probably going to be a big struggle for him in the NBA. So I feel like overall shooting ability, that is something that he needs to work on. And also to go along with shooting ability, I just feel like overall consistency, he needs to work on his consistency as a player, because there are some nights where he'll just become a streaky shooter. Some nights he may be able to shoot the lights out the ball, and then other nights he can't buy a shot. So just overall, I feel like offensive consistency, three-point shooting consistency, I feel like that's something that he really needs to work on. The next thing that I'm going to mention is his size. He's only 6'1", 160 to 170 pounds. He is someone who's pretty small, pretty light, and I feel like going up against other taller, stronger NBA point guards, he may struggle there. And also in pick and roll and off-ball screen scenarios, I feel like he may have some trouble if he ever gets put on a shooting guard. And also to go along with that, my final negative about him is that his defense, I feel like he's a solid defender, but I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement. And again, with his size being 6'1" and around 170 pounds, I feel like he's going to struggle in the NBA on defense. So that's something that I feel like he needs to get better at. Right now, he's decent on defense, but I feel like there's much room for improvement for someone like Sharife Cooper. So yeah, man, those are all the positives, the negatives, the stats. That's everything about Sharife Cooper. Again, another high school legend. Really enjoy watching the film on him. In high school, was a big fan of him. In college, really just loved watching the film on him. You know, he played with JT Thor, so I got to watch him and JT Thor. That was so much fun to watch. And yeah, man, Sharife Cooper as a player, I do like him as a player, but in terms of the Pistons selecting him, I don't know, because we have currently so many guards on the roster. I feel like I say this every video. We have Killian Hayes, Saban Lee, Frank Jackson, who can play the point guard or shooting guard position, Dennis Smith Jr., Corey Joseph. That's 5 point guards, and then possibly Cade Cunningham, who may play the 1 or the 2. And then adding someone like Sharife Cooper, that'll be 7 point guards who we may or may not have to make decisions on. So with the overjam and overload at the point guard position, I'm always worried when it comes to talking about the Pistons possibly selecting a point guard in the draft. Like we were talking about Bones Highland a few weeks ago, and a few weeks ago we also talked about Jared Butler. You know, I'm concerned with the amount of point guards that we might possibly have on the squad. We have too many. But at the same time, if we lose Frank Jackson in free agency, if we decide to move on from Corey Joseph, if we decide to trade Dennis Smith Jr. in free agency, then you short the point guard list, and then you could fit in someone like a Sharife Cooper. You could fit in someone like Jared Butler or Bones Highland. So depending on what the Pistons do this offseason and what their plans are, what is his plan at the point guard position, that's something that I also feel like has to factor into drafting someone like Sharife Cooper. So for me, man, early in the second round, should we take someone like Sharife Cooper? I'm not completely against it, but I'm not completely for it either, because there are other guys in this draft. There are a lot of centers who I really, really like. There are some power forwards, some small forwards in this draft. There are other talented players who I feel like with their early second round pick, we might want to consider going with them over Sharife Cooper. But at the same time, if with our early second round pick, if they decide to go with someone like Sharife Cooper, I won't be mad at that at all, especially if we lose Frank Jackson, if we lose Corey Joseph and Dennis Smith Jr., if we trade Dennis Smith Jr. away. I wouldn't be mad at someone like Sharife Cooper coming in to be the replacement for those guys. So Pistons fans, let me know how y'all feel about Sharife Cooper, and Auburn fans, if I got any of y'all watching, just let me know any and all thoughts about Sharife Cooper in the comment section below about him in the draft, him coming to the Pistons or him coming to any other team. Just overall, any and all thoughts about Sharife Cooper, let me know in the comment section below. So like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Thank y'all for 2K, and I'm out.